The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Now up to bat. Tony's going to do some time, Brandon. Tony Rendon has been issued a 5-game suspension, which was negotiated down by the Players Association to 4 games for an altercation with a fan on, I believe it was opening day, correct?
Yes, it was on opening day. Basically, first of all, the way it works at Oakland Coliseum is in order to get back.
Well, let's start here. Nothing works at Oakland Coliseum.
Nothing works at Oakland Coliseum. But the way that they try to make this work is in order for the players to get back to the clubhouse. Now, it's not connected by the dugout, is what you have to realize. So you have to come out of the dugout and then walk through the stands, essentially, walking through the grandstands to get back to this tunnel that goes to the clubhouse. So, of course, they're in Oakland. They lose on opening day after Ryan Tepera comes in and blows the game for the Angels. They're walking through, and some fan, he decides to call Tony Rendon a bitch. And Tony Rendon did not respond very nicely to this. He came up and grabbed the fan by the shirt and was saying, there was a lot of expletives included in there, but he was just saying, I heard what you said, don't say that. Fan kept arguing with him. Instead of just walking away, Tony then, as he has done quite well in the last few seasons, swung and missed at an attempted punch near this fan's head. And all caught on camera by the person standing right next to this guy that was involved in the altercation. And Tony's going to do some time for it. It really seems like the last few seasons, between him either being hurt or being suspended. I remember he got suspended last year he might have been one of the ones where he was already on the IL, but then left the bench during a benches clearing incident and got suspended for that. I mean, he has done a masterclass in terms of not playing games.
Well, I've got 2 takes here, to be honest.
105 games in the last 2 years combined. I mean, it's almost as if he's trying to not play at this point.
First off, I find this to be a fascinating series of events for a guy who has actively and continues to actively say he doesn't really care that much about baseball. If you're just here as a job, I'm pretty sure the first thing you're thinking about when you get done with the game is going home. And yet you stopped to take the time to argue with a fan because
on game one. It's not like this is the middle of some crazy playoff race.
It's not even like it's the dog days of summer when you're just tired and just mentally fed up. My second thing here is, how on earth is this only 4 games? I feel like 4 games or 5 games is the baseline for touching a fan with the PA negotiating to get to 5 games. In reality, we can talk about it. It probably is closer to 8 games because he did spend quite a bit of time hurt as well here. He's missed 2 days with a knee contusion in that time frame before the suspension. And so, honestly, in my head, I have to question whether the Angels were planning on potentially giving him a suspension as well throughout investigation. That's kind of what it more signals to me, is the fact that after this altercation, he immediately was missing multiple days, and then the suspension hits. I have a feeling more than just Major League Baseball was investigating this, and I don't understand how, as a sports organization, the Angels can effectively Tony condone this. But I can't even get past that joke. Oh my gosh. How did Tony condone this? But how does Major League Baseball allow this to happen? This is blatant, your fans, the people that are paying money to see this, are, yes, they're the aggressor, but they're still being, there's an attempt at an assault by your own employees on the people who are paying for everything here in one way or another. That can't be tolerated. I am shocked that they decided on a 5-game suspension and not more for that. This feels like something that has to be cracked down hard on, especially when we've seen a lot more close interactions with fans and players in recent years than we have in ages.
Yeah, I don't know how big of a problem I have with the actual, games that he's suspended for, but I'm more just interested in, what is it ever going to get better for Anthony Rendon, especially now that he's 33. You're on this albatross of a contract. I mean, oh my God, it's gonna go down as one of the worst contracts in league history, no doubt. And we barely seen you play since post 2021 season or post 2020 season where you were really good.
And 2020, or excuse me, the 2020 season, I was thinking 2019 season, I feel like that whole performance, I still stand by, was incredibly overrated.
Like juiced ball or just
they desperately needed somebody to be the face of the winter and put everything into Tony Rendon.
Oh yeah. Why do you? Well, then yeah,
he wasn't that good.
And then Strasburg got the insane contract too because they needed someone to be the face of the pitchers. It's like, look, he just won World Series MVP. We've talked about this a million times. Pete Alonso was the one that brought it up last year in a press conference, right? Saying that, it's obvious that why they switched the ball and all that. And we've talked about that before, but no, I just want to know, like, what in 10 years from now, are we going to look back at Anthony Rendon and be like, yeah, he was like an elite player on the Nationals, has quite a few top 10, top 11 MVP finishes. And then he went to the Angels and he just did literally nothing, yet got a $245 million check. Just going to be interesting to see how it plays out, just because for a guy who got such a big contract, and it's like the second or third largest contract in terms of AAV for like a left side of the infield, or it was at that time. Now I'm sure all those shortstop contracts blew it out of the water, but still.
Yeah, but it was still no, actually, I don't think it has been that bad. Because what is it currently? I'm blanking on the
It's 245 over 7 years, so it's 35 a year.
Yeah, no, that is still that's still the mark. That's the measuring stick. Let's keep this in mind.
It's crazy.
We are forgetting the fact that it was just a year ago that Carlos Correa signed a contract that was $35.1 million because he wanted to make more than this guy.
That's right. With AAV, that's right. Wow.
Let's talk about this here. This is still the contract that everyone else is measuring themselves up against when it comes to infielders. Like, it's ruining the infield market, which honestly should be way, way better than it is.
This is the Deshaun Watson contract of the MLB.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a shame too, because I've never quite grasped the difference between outfield and infield pay. Like, it feels like these outfielders, the top tier outfielder, is getting miles more than some of these guys. And I get context of certain situations, but like, we're seeing $40 million contracts, or guys being willing to give out $40 million contracts to outfielders when we can barely sniff 35 with guys who probably see more actual difficult plays per game from a defensive standpoint. It's never made sense to me, and this is part of what's holding it back.